And welcome to another edition of Nights Around the Fire, your premier podcast for everything mysteries, legends, and myths. We are Canonsburg's #1 paranormal podcast, and I'm glad you can join me this evening. Today we have another show, and Sue Taylor is back.
Hi, guys.
And Sue, I'm sure, has a lot of info on...
We're going to talk today about Bigfoot in Butler County, Pennsylvania. And we are going to talk a little about this book, The Monsters of Pennsylvania.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania has monsters.
Yes, they do. So we're going to cover one story out of here with our topic tonight. Maybe we'll dig into some more in the future.
Fantastic. So once again, we are glad you're here. We have quite a few Bigfoot videos out right now on our channel. Go over to Nights Around the Fire. Check those videos out. We know that people love Bigfoot.
We like Bigfoot.
And obviously, Pennsylvania is a hotspot for Bigfoot, except for Washington County, which we
talked about that, but we kind of explained, I feel like we explained why we are not as much of a hotspot as we once were. But that's a story for you to go check out on that video. Yes,
please do. And so, Sue, Butler, explain a little bit about Butler, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so Butler County, created on March the 12th, 1800, named for a gentleman by the name of General Richard Butler of the American Revolutionary War.
Of course.
And I have heard a rumor on the internet, and you know everything you read on the internet is true.
Absolutely.
Every single thing. That you can cross Butler County without breaking the tree line. So you can stay entirely in the forest if you cross Butler County.
Okay.
I don't know if this is true. I've got some friends who live up in Butler County. Maybe they'd like to test this out for me. Dan, Abe, if you guys want to take a little walk, see if you can cross Butler County without coming out of the trees, we want to know about it.
Let us know. If you can film it, film it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you film it, we will come.
So, Butler County. Now, Butler County is the county above Allegheny.
It is. So it is not far from Pittsburgh. It's probably about 45 minutes from Pittsburgh. So we're not talking not where we were last week in last week's episode with Clearfield and Elk County, where there is nothing anywhere ever. So to give you an idea, we have 193,000 people living in Butler County as of the 2020 census, and 56% of those people live in an urban area.
Wow. And there is a lot of woods up there, though, that's for sure. And I guess that's where we find our cryptid.
There are, but Butler County is also kind of like Washington County, where Allegheny County has kind of spilled over. So they're starting to build like more subdivisions and
urban sprawl.
Yes. It's when they run out of room in one county, they just move over the line to the next one.
Tear down the trees, put up those cheap homes and charge 10 times what they're worth, and you're ready to go.
And kick out the Bigfoot, as we saw here in Washington County.
Migrate them away.
That's what the Allegheny National Forest and Elk County are for. Stick them up there.
Yeah, it's going to be hard building plans in those particular counties. So, Sue, Butler County. So, we know that it is a pretty up-and-coming county as well. We know that a lot of development has moved in from Allegheny County, as it has here in Washington County.
But there are also a lot of, like, protected areas up there. There is Moraine State Park, which is beautiful. I have hiked up there. I've always wanted to go. Have you swam in the lake in Moraine State Park?
No, I have not.
They have a beach and the lake that you can swim in. If it's not closed, it was closed a few years ago because there was something wrong with the water. But
it gives me confidence to want to go there.
Yeah, but me, who's afraid of snakes, is willing to risk swimming in the lake at Moraine State Park.
Well, you do know copperheads are up there and they do swim.
Do copperheads swim?
Yeah, they do.
I did not know that. I know.
I'm pretty sure.
I know.
Correct me if I'm wrong out there.
Cottonmouths swim, but they're not up here. And those I was afraid of those in Lake Lanier.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that people worry when they're in the water. You'll see them like swimming around by you.
Great. Well, there's supposedly something else up in Moraine State Park that we are going to talk about here
what
in
could it
a
be?
little bit. I don't know. Could be anything.
The man himself.
Yeah.
Well, let me go on a limb here and say, we always say the man himself, but we do know there are female Bigfoots. Right.
The Patterson-Gimlin film
was a female Bigfoot.
Yeah, it was a female Bigfoot.
Yeah. So we know, and I apologize to all the ladies that I always say he's the man. I'm sure there's the woman, too, that may rule the roost in a Bigfoot family. One doesn't know.
No, we don't know. We don't know how they run their households, but there are female Bigfoot, juvenile Bigfoot. So Bigfoot's got a big family out there.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what do we know about this cryptid in Butler County?
So let's start with a story. This is a true campfire tale. This is out of the Monsters of Pennsylvania.
Who's that
I
by?
have here. This is by a author by the name of Patty A. Wilson, and it is Monsters of Pennsylvania, Mysterious Creatures of the Keystone State. And I heard this story a few years ago and wanted to research more on it and read up on it again and bring it to you guys in case you hadn't heard it, because this story is very hard to find on the internet, and you cannot verify this story on the internet. But let's tell the story and then we'll press for some details. So also up in Butler County, there is a camp called Lutherland. And it is a Christian summer camp associated with the Lutheran Church.
Okay.
And it has been up there for years. This did not just come around. It's been up there for many years at this point. And from their website, it looks like a pretty nice place. They host a lot of events for children and adults all summer. So, looks like a good place to go. Like, if you're looking for a nice camp for your kids, looks like a nice place to go. If you're looking for an adults retreat to get away, looks like a nice little place to go hang out. So the story from our book tonight is back in the 1980s. There was a boy by the name of Eric who attended Camp Lutherland, and apparently attended Lutherland every summer. It's just how he spent his time growing up. And one of the highlights of the camp was a night where they moved out of their cabins and slept out under the stars in the field.
Okay.
What can go wrong?
What can go wrong?
So I have been to summer camp in not this area, but I've been up closer to the Westmoreland County area, which is not terribly far from the Chestnut Ridge area.
Right. Very famous place.
There's a lot of weird stuff in the Chestnut Ridge area. We're going to cover Chestnut
Yes.
Ridge because there's a lot of weird stuff there. So I know how apprehensive I was as a 11, 12-year-old. I can only imagine what this experience was like, not having seen anything, having had this experience at a summer camp.
Yeah, probably in the 80s, there wasn't a lot said about stuff like that, right? I mean, not like today.
No, and there was also, so this is in a more rural area in Butler County, but it's also, there was even less stuff in Butler County in the 1980s than there is today.
Right. It was pretty much a farm-oriented area.
Yeah. So when this happened, there would not have been a lot of other things up there. So the campers are doing their camp out thing. They are sitting around a campfire. They're roasting marshmallows. They're roasting hot dogs.
And possibly telling stories around the fire.
They probably were. They were probably telling stories around the fire, like campfire tales.
Mostly about ghosts, I'm sure.
I don't know. It was a Christian summer camp. They
I
might have been
still.
singing nice little. They might have been
I don't
singing
know.
like camp songs.
I think they were talking ghosts. That's me.
So after they have their fun that night, they climb into their sleeping bags and they fall asleep. So sometime later, Eric wakes up because his friend is kind of like leaning over him. And his friend says to him, "Don't move and don't make any noise because there's something in the woods."
Okay.
So they hear the sound of something heavy crashing through the woods. And the counselors all have their flashlights and they're kind of like circling the edge of the woods and they're yelling at whoever is in the woods to get out. Stop. They're scaring the kids. Now, think back to camp. You've got children there, but technically the counselors are also children because they're usually teenagers.
Yeah.
There might be a few real adults there, but most of the counselors are teenagers. So you basically got kids watching kids with a few adults like supervising.
Right. And I think, we've seen those campfire stories with those type of mixture of young people and younger people. And again, as Sue mentioned, what can go wrong?
What can go wrong? Now, remember, we've just heard branches breaking so far. So right now, if we are looking at the BFRO site, we're sitting at Class B sighting already.
Okay, because, yeah, right.
We haven't seen anything. So the counselors tell the kids to get up, take their stuff, move into the cornfield that's, a little more isolated from where they're sitting in the field, and to be quiet. They told them that the counselors were going to give them a sign, and on their sign, they were to run for the cabins. I don't know, and I apologize, I did not look at a map of Camp Lutherland. I don't know exactly where the cabins are in relation to this field where they were in, but I imagine it was not a terribly far distance, because you can't have children like running down the side of the mountain in the dark.
You would hope not.
You would hope not. Like that, it sounds like it would be more dangerous to send the children running around in the dark if it was a riskier move. So whatever's in the woods continues to make its noise, and finally this thing comes out of the woods and steps into the cornfield where the kids are. And Eric knows that this thing walks past him, but it's hidden by the corn stalks.
So he's in the corn stalks, but you can see him because he's bigger than the corn stalks?
He doesn't, there's no description of what they actually saw. They just know it was something big.
Okay.
So about this time that this thing steps into the cornfield, the counselors do the right thing, and they tell the children to run.
Run for your lives.
Yeah, run for the cabins. Go, get in there. The next day, everybody's okay. No one's hurt. But the next day, people were talking that they saw a Bigfoot out there, and no one is surprised. Everyone assumed that this was a Bigfoot.
Okay. I mean, it's a B. It's at least a B, right?
It's at least a B, but let me put my asterisks out here.
Here we go.
There are no verified sources or internet retellings of this story. And there's a big list of sources in the back of this book, but I cannot verify exactly which one is related to that story. So I cannot go any further on verifying that this actually happened, or if this is just a really fun summer camp scary story, which it could be. Now, on the other hand, if you have ever been to Camp Lutherland, if you happened to be there that night, or if you happen to be Eric himself,
we want to hear from you.
We want to hear from you. We want to know all about this.
Okay. I'll put my 2 cents in here. You know, anymore, everybody talks about verifying things, and we want to. Fact checkers. We're in the era and the age of fact checkers. But back in the 80s, I mean, let's be honest, and there were a lot, especially from the 70s to the 80s, folks, a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of conspiracies on aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts, and these were big back then without the internet, without places like Nights Around the Fire or any of the other channels that YouTube hosts. We all kind of take for granted, even though we're older and remember back that far, that it's a different world. So we really can't judge somebody's story based on the fact that we can't find any other sources. Let's be honest. This might have been a one and done. Happened to a small group of people, maybe 15, 20, who knows how many were there. And some weren't all part of it. Some didn't see it, maybe just a few. So I'm going to go on the side of caution here and believe that obviously they saw something or heard something. Was it a Bigfoot? There's not a lot of other things it can be. That doesn't seem like a bear's behavior.
No, I don't think a bear would do that. The only other thing that I can think of was that maybe it was some sort of like a farm animal that got loosed and was like traipsing around in the woods, but then you would know the difference when it stepped into the cornfield.
Yeah.
It feels like when it got to the cornfield, it was very controlled, and another type of animal would be trying to get away from the people, whereas it seemed like this thing, if I'm reading between the lines of this story, it feels like this thing knew that there were people in this cornfield, and so it needed to go there to find them. Yeah. So, which is scary.
It is. I mean, like we said last week with the Elk County and Clearfield County video, we're not experts. No one is.
No.
BFRO and
PBS.
The PBS, they're not experts. They probably know more sightings and have a little more insight, but nobody's an expert on this animal, which we believe it's an animal.
We believe it's an animal, but there is going to be an expert at the library
next
month or in April.
April.
I don't think I can make it that day, but
I'm going to try to be there.
Yeah, Dave is going to be there. He's going to talk about our podcast and maybe get some more information from an expert.
Yeah, and this guy is a legitimate expert. He's been doing it a long time. And again, when we talk about experts, we're talking about people who've either had sightings or have interviewed people, many people, multiple people about sightings, have done investigations, which is what he does. So we're going to see what's going on. I think for those people that joke about Bigfoot, we know who they are.
We do.
Our co-host Ashley is not a big Bigfoot person. She doesn't think Bigfoot exists. We don't knock her.
It's okay.
We don't get upset about it. One day when we take her out in the woods and she faces him, yep, where Ashley will be a believer. As the monkeys sang, I'm a believer now.
That's very fitting that you use the monkeys in reference to
Yes,
Bigfoot.
I did.
Nicely
Did you catch
done,
that?
Dave. Nicely done.
See, you just tuned to the right place. Nights Around the Fire.
Yeah.
By the way, if you enjoy our content, me, Sue, and Ashley, please consider subscribing to our channel. We're growing. Make sure you like the video. Watch it.
Watch that like button, and boy, are we growing. You guys have answered the call to subscribe. Let's get to 80.
And my target, friends, is 100.
100, yes.
But with your help and sharing the video, I think we can get there. Again, we're trying to grow, and we have a wide variety of topics. You're not going to find, Bigfoot every single week. You're not going to find ghosts every single week. We're going to do things that are off the table, and some people may not care for, some of them, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We're going to try to touch base with something that everybody likes, and sometimes things that people are interested in, odd things, and that's what we're here to do. So please continue to watch. And carrying on with this story, it seems like these people were onto something. It seems like to me this was something other than a farm animal or a bear.
Yeah, I read this story many years ago, at least 10, 15 years ago now at this point, and I thought there was substance to this story when I read it the first time, and so that's why I had to come back to it for our episode tonight. Was there's something about this story that just, it speaks to being true, even without verified sources or without seeing anything else. It feels true to me, and oh, come on, it gives you creeps. Like, that's the ultimate, like, camp, like,
Yeah.
If it would have been worse, it wouldn't have been any worse if Bigfoot was wearing a hockey mask when he stepped out of the woods.
And of course, we know in forests when people see similar or hear similar things, and it's pretty much the same type story. In this case, it happened to be at a camp instead of basically a mountain camp where people are going out hiking.
So let's go off at that point, because remember what we said last week, that the people out in Clearfield County and Elk County, they know these woods.
Yeah.
These were children, basically, of all ages, from younger children up to teenagers, children. Yeah. And so they don't know the sound of the woods. So if this was some sort of like wild animal or wildcat, then they wouldn't have known it. But living in that area, I would assume that you would have some kids up there who did some hunting or went to cabins with their family or something like that. So you have some idea of what it was.
I mean, this is tough because Bigfoot is elusive. We don't know a lot about him at all or her at all.
I think we do know something from this story.
We do know something. And
Bigfoot's a Lutheran.
Yeah, Bigfoot was attending the Bigfoot Lutheran campfire just around the other side of that cornfield. So, yeah, maybe that's true, too, because we know that Bigfoot also in the Olympics, right?
With the raccoon human throwing
Yeah,
Olympics.
with the human. Yeah, yep. If you watched that video last week, you know that we kind of threw that out there. They have their Olympics, and, of course, it's unfair.
I mean, it was summer, so it could have been the Summer Olympics.
Summer Olympics. And they probably have Winter Olympics, too.
They probably do. Sliding humans across the ice.
Yeah.
Not curling.
Curling.
Branch.
Yeah, curling.
Or the raccoon, if they can't get a human.
Yeah, poor things.
Poor things. Poor raccoons.
Okay, so what else do we know about Butler?
Okay, so let's flip over to the map if we could. Okay, So the map on the screen right now shows the area that we are looking at. And if you are looking on the map, you can see Moraine State Park, where we talked about a little earlier. And you can see Camp Lutherlin if you look closely. It is that little one. It's right up from the center, that little blurb down there. So you can get an idea of where we are when we're talking about this. So you can also see the little yellow pins that are on the map and the little red pins. Those are, again, the PBS, which indicate by year. So yellow is most frequent, or more frequent, rather. That's a terrible statement. Most recent, not frequent. And reds are past years. So let's talk a little bit about those. And we're going to start out with May 1st of 2015. And we're going to talk about Lake Arthur, which is right up there, just a little bit above Moraine State Park. So you can see its little curve up there right next to the Mount Zion Church, which may be the church that Bigfoot attends.
Yes.
What we don't know.
Yes, it could be.
Could be. Okay. So it's up, the nearest town to this is Prospect, Pennsylvania, which, I'm trying to find it directly on the map. Butler is more down in the right corner of the map, so Butler is definitely not the closest. So Portersville and Prospect are all right there along the I-79 corridor that you can see on the left side of the page. So this person was fishing on Lake Arthur at Moraine State Park, and they heard wood knocks and rock clacks. So, all right, we've already got ourselves a Class B sighting for the
Class B.
Yeah, for the BFRO. And this is a PBS sighting, by the way. This comes from the PBS's website. And it seems like these two sounds were talking to each other, communicating with each other.
In what way?
So the observer gives us that. They would say, I would hear two wood knocks, and then maybe 10 seconds later to the west, about 200 to 300 yards, very specific, I would hear 3 rock clacks. So, like, one Bigfoot's, like, knocking on a tree, and the other one's, like, pounding rocks together. And they said the sequence continued for about 8 to 10 minutes. The sound stopped when a boat went past mine. Now, without knowing the volume of the sounds that these were making, like, were they little, like, taps and, like, clicks? Or were they, like, boom, boom, boom together?
Well, they were loud enough for them to hear.
Yeah. And there are no other animals that do that.
No, besides raccoons. They could be having their own little band as well. But
They do have thumbs.
Nobody in the forest outside of raccoons and Bigfoot has digits where they can hold things and knock them against a tree, rocks against each other. And, of course, this is something throughout investigations of Bigfoot we know that they do. We know that they communicate, or we believe they communicate with sounds like knocks on trees, and I guess rocks would work as well, right? So we kind of believe that already.
Well, we know from what we talked about last week, they communicate by throwing rocks.
Yeah, if they don't like you, you're getting drilled.
Yeah, they will throw a rock. So it does not surprise me that they would use rocks to clack together. And the observer who put this in the system says, I do believe in Bigfoot, always have. However, this is the first time that anything like this has happened to me. It disturbed me so much that I started up my boat and moved to another part of the lake. There were no other witnesses. It was pretty quiet other than those sounds and like the general sounds of the forest and then that other boat that went by. So this is a follow-up that came in on this sighting from the BFRO. So I spoke with the witness over the phone and gathered a strong sense that the experience, though not visual in nature, was life-changing for him. It was mid-morning on a beautiful spring day in Moraine State Park. While sitting in his boat about 30 to 40 yards from the shoreline, the witness heard what sounded like 2 distinct wood knocks coming from an unpopulated forest back on shore. Shortly after the wood knocks, 3 rock clacks could be heard about 300 yards west of his location. This back and forth exchange happened about 10 minutes in a consistent and repetitive nature. There were only a couple of other boats on the water at that time. The witness was alone, and the experience caused the hair on the back of his neck to stand up. He said, I didn't necessarily feel like I was being watched, but I felt like I didn't belong there either. And did end this with saying that the witness has since returned to this location and has not had an incident, and has noticed, as we talked about, this is more heavily overgrown with brush, that little to no human activity is going into this particular part of Butler County.
Interesting. Okay, so, I mean, noises from the forest, we kind of expect certain things, right?
Right.
We don't expect people clanging rocks together.
Right.
It's one of the things you wouldn't expect.
That's a big thing. Like, you don't expect to hear, like, repetitive patterns, except for things like birds, like owls. We know the sound of owls. Woodpeckers, we know the sounds of.
Right.
When I lived on the farm, we used to have 2 owls that would sit and like call to each other down in our lower field. But this, we all know that that's an owl sound. We all know that that's different. Like, and especially for it to go on for almost 10 minutes.
It's a lot.
That's different. That's something with intelligence.
It goes beyond prank to something communicating.
Right.
That's my words, communicating. So, folks, again, if many of you have been in the woods, maybe many of you have not. I have. And when she said it's an area where humans wouldn't be, some places are so thick. And if you've been through some forests or wooded areas, thicket can have the thorns throughout. Things are grown. It's not some place you can really get to very easily as a human. So people just avoid them. You know, people don't go places where you can't get to. Hunters have their particular places they go, open fields or wooded areas that are more visually able to pick up a deer and have a line of sight. Some of these places that we're talking about, you really can't get through. Now, something like a Bigfoot, that would not be a problem.
Right, and this is up close to Moraine State Park, so this is not an area that they are going to build up. This is not an area that they're going to stick a subdivision on. Yeah, because the state park is right there, and nobody wants to go to a state park that's right up against a subdivision and a golf course.
Right. Right. At least you'd hope not.
No, that doesn't sound fun.
Okay, so our friends at the BFRO and believe this one's legitimate.
Yes, and so this one again would be a Class B because we just heard sounds. We did not see anything, did not smell anything. So.
Okay, so that's two. That's two possibilities there.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about another one that was also verified by the PBS and the BFRO.
Oh, double Rammy there.
Double dipping right there. I saw a couple of different years on this one, but I'm going to go with the official date that was listed on it, that this occurred in August of 2016.
Okay.
So, the observer writes, I was camping with my son's troop in Moraine State Park in Butler County. Again, we're back to Moraine State Park.
Okay. Fair.
I woke up in the middle of the night. I want to say it was around midnight, but cannot be sure. This would have been a Friday night into Saturday morning. I was taken back by how quiet the woods were. Being a seasoned tent camper, this struck me as odd. Our tent was the closest to the shoreline, maybe 30 to 40 yards of woods in between us and the shore. The deep woods were on one side of the trail road from our tent site. Okay?
Okay.
Up the shoreline, I heard what sounded like a tree or a rock knock. The knock continued for a little bit and was eventually answered by other tree knocks coming from 2 distinct locations in the deep woods. The answered call seemed pretty far in the distance, but still audible. The original knock came from our side of the shore and was closer than the other 2. This happened for a little while. The answering calls never changed, but the knock on our side kept getting closer to the tent site. I was actually astonished by how fast the knocks were moving down the shoreline. By that, I mean the knock source closest to us was coming towards our campsite and working its way down the shoreline. Whatever was making the knocks was moving at a good speed for being in the woods at night. The knock stopped right when it felt like the source was directly behind us. The following night was Saturday. I woke up again, but this time the woods were their normal sounding self and there was a boat life on the lake. I did hear another knock, fairly distant in the woods, but there was only one. So this is reported to the PBS and considered a Class B sighting by the BFRO.
Okay. Again, we're back to basically the knocks. Folks, I think once again, everybody wants to see a Bigfoot, but let's be honest, when we're dealing with a creature like this, how would they communicate distances? How would they find each other? in a forest. There's a lot of questions here, but it makes sense that a creature like this, to me, it makes sense that they would do these type things.
Yeah, these are like rudimentary communication skills. So this feels natural for them.
Native Americans used smoke signals.
Yeah.
for long distances. And, a cryptid like this, and we believe it has some intelligence, would find ways to communicate, and probably if it's been around a long time, honed it pretty well.
So I'm going to give you an assignment. When you go to see the guy at the library, I want you to ask him about Bigfoot speaking in human voices.
Okay. Has this been documented?
It has. And if it's the same guy that I think it is, he may have a story. But I want to do an entire video on what Bigfoot can do. And mimicking human voices is one of those things that Bigfoot can supposedly do.
That's creepy, because there are other things that we, supernatural beings that are talked about that live in the woods that do the same thing.
Skinwalkers.
Yes. So Bigfoot, somebody believes can.
Yeah. Ask the gentleman at the library when you go down.
Okay, we'll find that out. I'll see what he has to say. I think it's interesting because, we kind of also believe, and if Bigfoot's been around as long as we think, and I don't really know what that really is, but a long time, and it's been near humans, not necessarily around humans, it will learn a lot about us, more than probably just as much as we try to learn about them. It will hear our voices, it will see our actions, and repetitively over years, it would make its own assessments, right?
And that's why they say that there's no clear footage of video of Bigfoot, because he will avoid trail cameras. He knows that humans have guns and humans are dangerous, and they are smart enough to stay away from us.
Yeah, there's something to that. I believe that's true, because if you look at even animals know sometimes to not go near humans, other animals, not to go near humans. They're afraid of them, and they should be. But Bigfoot might have a little more intelligence, maybe.
Yeah.
And it learns. It learns through repetition, through observing, and through experience.
Yep.
Okay, well, Sue, that's 3, right?
That's 3. So, okay. We're going to talk about some Class A sightings now.
Here we go, folks.
Actually been seen. This one is from 1977.
Wow.
And I pulled this one because I want you to think about when the Luther Lynn sighting occurred. So this creature in this story was seen in 77, and then the tracks were seen 5 years later. So that would have been right around 1982-ish. So you pair that with the Luther Lynn story, and this could be, that could be a pattern.
Okay.
So I also heard this one on the Bigfoot Case Files podcast. So this story seems like it's gotten out a lot. So if you want a good story, I think this is it. Approximately midnight, the witness was driving home and was going slow because they were going up a steep grade. Saw something out of the corner of their eye. They thought it was a bear, but when it got in front of their headlights, they saw it wasn't. The creature casually crossed the road in front of the witness's car. Their first thought, now let's listen to this one for a second. Their first thought was to try and hit it, but they didn't want to make it mad. That feels like the right decision to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So a few years later, the thing crossed in front of their car. It didn't pay them any attention. It just kept going. A few years later, the witness's mother and daughter were walking through an old strip mine nearby and found fresh footprints in the mud. And someone in the family did make a cast of the footprints, but they don't know if that cast still exists. So this one's been documented by a couple of places.
Okay.
So this one's BFRO, PBS, and then this Bigfoot Case Files podcast.
Okay.
So there's a lot to this one, and that year lines up. Those years that they've tossed around in this one line up pretty well.
Okay.
With the sighting at Luther Lynn.
So this is a Class A sighting, as deemed by
something, something was seen.
Okay. That's interesting. And I got a question, Sue.
Sure.
And it seems to me that this is happens more often than I even think about. A Bigfoot walks across the road and doesn't pay attention to anybody else. He's walking in the woods past these kids and doesn't really pay mind to them, doesn't stop to go, what are you doing here? Just walks through. So what do you make of that? I mean, I guess I'm saying we say Bigfoot's not a spiritual being, right? We believe it's a physical being, but some people believe otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Becky, right? One of our Ghostbuster
Yes,
friends. Becky
yes.
believes it's a spirit.
Yes.
But the way it acts as if it doesn't see us or pay us any real mind.
So that's a valid point, but I will also counter with this. When I pulled into your house tonight and got out of my car, there were 2 deer standing on the other side of your driveway.
Yeah.
And like the 3 of us waved at each other and we all went about our business. Like, and that's the deer in my backyard are the same way. Like they see me, they see my dogs and they're like, hey, nice to see you again. And then they go about their way. So is he really like not moving through this plane that he's not seeing us and not able to interact with us? Or is he like the Canonsburg deer where he's like, you again?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right. But there's a difference. I will say this, that the deer are deer. And Bigfoot is what we believe is a more intelligent cryptid.
Yes.
But so you'd
Might
think
just
he'd be more
ignoring
curious.
you. He might just be ignoring us.
But he seems to ignore everybody.
Yeah. Doesn't like anybody.
I guess not. And once again, if you were a creature like this, would you want to interact with whatever they look at us as? We don't know that, of course.
I don't want to interact with humans sometimes.
Okay. Well, okay. Okay. So that's an interesting. So that was definitely an eyewitness account of
Definitely
a physical.
an eyewitness account. And I just want to go on record as saying that I always think hitting the Bigfoot with your car is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Except if you're in Harry and the Hendersons.
Right.
That's different.
Because we can get into the car throwing technique that Bigfoot uses in the Olympics, and you might end up in Ohio.
Yeah. If you're lucky.
Okay. So we've had 3 basically B sightings, which no visual eye contact with them,
Correct.
but noises. And we had one that a person saw directly on the road ahead of them, and they chose. Why do you would even think you'd want to hit it to begin with? That doesn't bode
feel
well
like
for
a
the
good
intelligence
idea,
of
no.
that person to begin with. But they did see it, and they knew it wasn't a bear.
Right.
They recognized it wasn't a bear, finally.
Right. And we don't have a description of the creature.
But it wasn't a bear.
Wasn't a bear. And I am going to assume it looks something similar to like what we described in the last 2 videos that we talked about.
Okay. So far, the 70s and 80s been a busy place in Butler for sightings.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So, and remember, we had one from 2016. So
2016.
10 years ago. Now we're going to go up to 1992 or 1993.
Okay.
Okay. So 3 people are sitting around a campfire late one night cooking hot dogs and talking. They heard leaves rustling and sticks breaking. There was a huge crash as if something had struck the mobile home in front of them. Okay. The witness asked their friends to put out the fire and they were going to get out of there. So the witness goes back into the cottage that they're staying in to wake the friend who was sleeping inside the cottage and say, we're leaving. We're not dealing with whatever this is.
They didn't investigate? Okay.
Hold.
I'm always
please.
ahead of the curve. I'm sorry.
So the other 2 friends then appear at the door of the cabin. They had been putting out the fire when they saw a large, hairy, man-like creature standing about 20 feet away. It was about 7 to 8 foot tall with red eyes.
Here we go.
Both men saw the creature run off. Now, around the summer of 95, so about 3 years later, roughly, the witness and one of the witnesses who was there and the witness who was telling the story's fiance heard sounds in that area that sounded like the Columbiana Bigfoot howl.
Which we've played on this program.
Which we have played on this program, yes. Which is one of the more famous Bigfoot howls.
Right.
And I believe that one was recorded by the BFRO.
So it's definitely legitimate.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a
Okay.
legitimate one, but still technically only a Class B because it's a vocalization,
Yeah,
not a visual.
no one saw it. Right.
But again, we are back to the red eyes.
Right. So if you watched our video last week, friends, and if you haven't, go watch that one. Basically about the red-eyed Bigfoot, and people saw a Bigfoot with red eyes, and this is frequently seen in the woods. Red eyes. We've also said there was yellow sometimes and green
And I think white, too.
and white. So you had there's these 4 types of colored eyes out of a Bigfoot. What they mean, I don't know. But this particular one backs up another statement made that we talked about last week, that the creature had red eyes.
And these are not the first 2 stories I have heard about red eyes. And I'm standing by what I said last week. Like, red is not a natural eye color in nature. Like, that is not something that is found in, like, maybe if the light hits somebody's eyes right, it might do something. But to just be in an area that is only lit by a fire and to see glowing red eyes, like, you know what glowing red looks like. Like, your keyboard is glowing red right now.
Right.
And that's different from just a flash of, like, red light.
Yeah. So we don't know why that is. And again, maybe no one does, but it's a specific observation that it had red eyes. Others have seen yellow. Others had seen green. Again, red eyes. And is this particular to a certain grouping of Bigfoot, a certain family? Let me know what you think.
Is this a determining factor that they are a different type of animal that we don't know anything about, or is this proof that they are some sort of supernatural being?
Yeah, that's something that we can debate for a long time because, again, we don't really know. But it did make a noise by slamming into the trailer, right?
And it was breaking branches in the woods beforehand.
So it has weight and substance to it.
It got what it wanted. It got them to leave. So at least I assume that's what it wanted.
Or was hoping to find food.
Both of them. Maybe just wanted a hot dog.
Yeah. I mean, so we talked about this last week about what does Bigfoot eat. And I'm not sure. I mean, I think anything that size would have to eat meat.
I think that's another good question for the man at the library. And I think that you guys should put your questions in the comments that Dave should take to the gentleman who is the expert, the verified expert at the library.
Please leave your comment.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have till the end of April to leave your questions for Dave.
And if you got more, email us at strangeworlds777@yahoo.com. Sue picks those up, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments, maybe your own theories. And if you've seen a Bigfoot or believe you have, let us know. We'll report it here.
We're going to do it when we get enough stories. We're going to do a listener stories episode. So send those stories in so that we can tell your story here on Nights Around the Fire.
It's interesting. It's exciting for us. We like to hear what other people have seen because, of course, it's rare, right? Let's be honest.
It feels like there's a lot of them, but there's really not that many people who have seen a Bigfoot.
Right. It's more rare than you think, even across the world. First of all, if you live in a city, it's very highly unlikely, unless he's an urbanite, which might be a whole tribe. But if you live in a city or suburbs, maybe it's less of a chance. When you get more towards the rural areas, like in Butler, in those places that are protected, state forests, parks, whatever, you get a better chance.
And the years on these and what we talked about with Washington County. We talked about it just now with Butler County. The years on these are before the buildup in these areas started.
We have to qualify that. That's right.
So we're getting later sightings, or more recent sightings, I should say, in places like the Allegheny National Forest and Clearfield County and Elk County, because there are fewer people in fewer build.
Right. And understand these counties we're talking about were not urban centers. They were rural centers. They were farms. Washington was just one of them. And as you know, if you live in other cities, you know what happens when urban sprawl takes place. And as Sue mentioned, it just kind of like metastasizes outward. And if you're a creature like Bigfoot, what do? You move farther and farther away from those centers. And of course, that means you have less and less sightings in places that you might have saw more years ago. So again, if you've had a sighting, if you have a theory, we want to hear it. Theories are welcome. We don't claim we know everything here, but we're going to report as much as we can. And I know when you talk to experts, I say experts, people that do this full time, there's a lot more even than we know.
Right.
Still not a lot, but there's a lot of sightings of people who do go in the woods. And it's not going to be reported on the local news or not on every podcast. some of these won't make it, but there's a lot.
Right. So I think personally that Butler County is another example of where urban sprawl pushed the Bigfoots out of the area. But I think they are still probably lurking around in the Moraine State Park area.
I'm sure. And you know, there might even be, we talked about this, there might even be one hanging around somewhere in Washington County. There's still some wooded areas. There's still some places that hasn't been touched. There's still some state forests or county places where they protect it, state parks. But it's less and less. And so if you have anything you want to add to that, if you live in a place where you've heard rumors, let us know. We'd like to document that and put it on our videos here and let other people know that, yeah, this is more common in rural areas, but it's possible that you can get some weird things in some places that have a lot of people as well, especially if a Bigfoot's hungry. I'm sure he would travel towards humans to find food if he needed food, right?
I'm sure that some of these subdivisions or big campgrounds are just field days for them when it comes to leftovers or things that are thrown away or left behind. I'm sure they can get a good meal out of that stuff.
Well, thank you, Sue. That was informative. This book, again, is called Monsters. I'll put basically a description in the description box if you want to look at your library for this or go on Amazon and buy it. It has a pretty good size Bigfoot on the front.
And it's got a lot of other cryptids in here. It talks about werewolves. It talks about, we've got a Jersey Devil in Pennsylvania. We've got big cats, some other humanoid creatures. And it does have it's got a chapter on my favorite topic, snakes. And it does have a pretty good section in here on Chestnut Ridge.
Right.
So we are going to be digging into the Chestnut Ridge.
There's a lot there.
soon.
So
Yeah.
take a gander at our site and find out. Basically, if you hit that notification bell when you like, subscribe, and share, that bell will put you on our list, automatically notify you when we've released a video, and you can check out when we are going to do Bigfoot videos. We'll have them out there for you. We do have some upcoming events for you here. We're going to be heading out into the woods in April, into Greene County in May, maybe, before the snakes and poison ivy. Sue and Ashley are not big snakes and poison ivy people. We're going to do some road trips to take a look. We're going to investigate ghosts again. We're going to be interviewing our ghost hunter, Ken, on Saturday.
That's coming up here very soon. You'll see that next couple of weeks.
You'll see that. And remember, again, if you enjoy this content and you want us to continue, we need your help to do so. Hit the subscribe button, squatch the like button.
Watch it.
And share it. Sharing it's a big deal with other people. I think you and Ashley have the McCamey house coming up.
Yep, McCamey Manor is coming up as soon as we can coordinate schedules to do some filming.
Right.
We're going to talk about McCamey Manor.
Yeah, that's going to be a decent one and interesting, I believe. So we got a lot for you. Again, we're going to bounce around here. We hope that you enjoy the way we do our videos. Don't forget to comment in the comment section. And if you want to drop us an email, have a little more to say, it's Strange Worlds, that's with an S, Strange Worlds 777@yahoo.com. Sue's waiting for you batedly, with bated breath, should I say, to basically respond to this and give us some information, give us some comments. Beyond all that, please make sure that you keep your eyes open for anything that you see that's odd. Ghosts, UFOs, and Bigfoot. Let us know in the comments or the email. We want to hear from you. And beyond that, thanks for watching Nights Around the Fire. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.